Are you ready?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and wrestling fans of all shapes and sizes? Once again, it is I, the pious pontificator of pro wrestling prophecies, the dad bod Matt Knight, joined here with Mr. Roadhouse in studio. What's going on tonight, Roadhouse?
You know, just being old Roadie the Brody, ready to introduce this next guest that we have.
We've got a very special one tonight.
Very special guest.
So, who do we have?
Well, this one's particularly special to me just because I personally love hearing the background, hearing the stories of somebody who's, you know, really doing it right now in the business. But not only that, but like finding their backstory, because this person is actually a third generation. Technically, if you want to say fourth generation, because his great grandmother actually sold tickets. So I'm going to say fourth generation, but a amazing third generational pro wrestling star we have.
Now, before we give up all the flowers here, so to speak,
yeah.
are you saying that pro wrestling has more than one royal family?
I am going to have to say this might be Tennessee's royal family, period.
All right. Well, let's bring him on. Get him up on the screen.
Get him on up there.
We got to see him live a couple of weeks ago. He's a big, beefy boy.
Big, beefy boy.
And has some of the prettiest hair that I have ever seen. We have, joining us remotely, Mr. AJ-Cazana. How's it going?
What's going on, fellas? Well, it's going.
Well, first and foremost, I want to get started by thanking you for your spending some of your time with us this evening. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on up and down the road, stuff with NWA and AML and some of the other promotions up and down the East Coast here. So we got to see you at AML's Future Stars of Pro Wrestling event a couple of weeks ago, and we were supposed to have you back then, but you tweaked your back a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, I took one of those. I don't know if you know this, but I am. You said it yourself. I'm a pretty big, beefy boy. I don't get thrown around very much, and Omar threw me around a little more than I'm used to, and I think one of those caught me funky, and I had a hard time breathing for about the last 3 or 4 minutes of that match. So,
how you feeling now?
I could be better. Well, I could be better, but I'm living.
Hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I'm moving around. I'm not bedridden, and I'm not in a wheelchair yet. So,
don't say yet. Don't say yet.
You know, it's bound to happen.
Eventually. But hey, so I know I have so many questions for you regarding your history, your family's history, everything about the state of Tennessee that your family knows about because of the rich, beautiful wrestling history that comes from your neck of the woods and from literally your family. But I do have to ask the question just to start off, get us off on the right foot. When we got to see you at Future Stars of AML, right after you came out, we had a referee, Dalen, try to take your belt, and he got smacked with your belt.
He got slapped right in the mouth with that belt.
Complete work or accidental?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you think it was.
Yes, well, you had us freaking rolling. We were like, I don't care whether that was intentional or whether that was an accident. This is the best thing that we've ever seen.
I will just, I'll pull the curtain back. It was a complete accident. But after it happened, I tried my best to compose myself because I was cracking up too.
Oh my God. It was hilarious.
It's about the little things. You gotta have fun while you do it. And I love Dalen to death. So I thought it was just just a tweak of the wrist.
He looked like he didn't know whether to shit or wind his watch when it happened. Because he kind of paused for a minute and he's like, Do I kayfabe it? Do I play along? Do I act like I'm okay? And then he kind of looked to you, and you just kind of mean mugged him, and like you were punking him. And then, like when Omar Amir was coming out, I saw you put your hand on his shoulder, like, no, seriously, you okay, man?
Yeah, I was putting the belt down, and I just asked, it's like, hey, my bad.
I think that's what the best part of it was because like people like us will see that and be like, oh crap, like, damn, he actually hit him by accident. But everybody in the crowd was like, hell yeah, I fucking love it. Like they loved it. And we were like,
it still worked,
yes.
baby.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Well, I don't know if there was an older woman in front of us, and I don't know whether she liked you or not, because she was like, "Oh, he's a big old boy," and then at the end she called you a fat ass or something like that, and you had to work with her in the crowd, and I couldn't. She was like cheering for you, but then she is insulting you. I couldn't figure out what's.
Well, you know, it's a weird situation that I'm in, and I do try to be really humble with myself and everybody around me, and sometimes I am very confident in my abilities and myself and my body and everything. And sometimes I cross that line from confidence to cocky. And I know that is a thing, but I do know that people really, especially at indie shows, appreciate good wrestling.
Mm-hmm. And you got that.
I've found that to be the biggest indicator of whether you're going to get cheered on. I can be the biggest heel in the room, but at Bristol over here in Imperial, where we were last night, like, you know, I went from being one of the biggest heels wrestling Axton for the heavyweight title to pretty quickly I got that NWA contract, and everybody's like, well, yeah, we knew you were going to do something. But pretty quick change, organic change to like babyface status over there. So I think that's the process that's probably going to happen at AML. The more they bring me back, the more people see good wrestling, because there's good wrestling there. Mm-hmm. But if you look at that roster, there's not very many heavyweights on the Future Stars roster. Now, the main roster has a few bigger boys, but it's the Future Stars roster might be lacking in like true 265 plus pound heavyweights.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'd even said was, you know, when you came out, I knew you were a big guy, but you know, I looked at Roadhouse, I was like, that's a man right there. You know,
all that is man.
Because you were probably the largest person on that roster, and you were up against Omar Amir, and he's no small guy
at all.
But
he was probably the second or third smallest person in that locker room.
Yeah, and you know, standing next to you, he had what we like to call the Billy Gunn effect, where anytime somebody gets in the ring with Billy Gunn, he makes them look smaller, no matter who it is.
Right.
So, but it was a great match. It was a great match. I thought you two put on a hell of a
I'm about 291, 292 right now, and Omar I know is about 265, 270. So yeah, we're pretty big, beefy boys. He's a lot leaner than I am, and I'm a lot thicker than he is. But it's a lot of weight in that ring, and a lot of weight for Dalen to have to control.
I think that your body type fits your persona. Like I don't see you as the guy with the chiseled out abs and pec like that. I just feel like that wouldn't work for you. You are.
Well, I mean, I grew up eating biscuits and gravy.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I did: biscuits and gravy, fried okra. I didn't get to go to Mama's today for Sunday dinner, and I'm a little teased off about that, to be PG. But no, yeah, I grew up eating the Southern food and working on a farm and helping my papa with the garden during the summer. I mean, vivid memories of pulling dead calves out of heifers and cows, and then you know, I don't know the verbiage perfect. I never asked. You know, I just said yes, sir, whatever we got to do. Pulling out dead calves out of the rear end of a cow with a tractor. Like, I remember that vividly. Shucking corn with my mama, and I remember breaking beans with my granny inside because she was 90 years old and couldn't go outside to do the corn. So yeah, I mean, we ate everything we grew, and you grow to be big and beefy, and it's
what works.
It's what works.
And nothing beats you know, the memories of snap beans with grandmas. You know, I have some of those myself. I do want to talk a little bit about your look, as far as, you know, the playing off the, you know, the big country boy thing. You've got the mullet, and you said you had a little bit to talk about how that came to be, but I also want to talk about your wrestling boots. Have you always worn the Western style boots as part of your gimmick?
I have not. You know, coming into the business, I wanted to be a traditional wrestler. You see so many gimmicks in the world of professional wrestling, and you see so many characters, if you will. And I know that's what sells on TV, and I know people buy into the characters, but you got, I use this one as an example, and I don't mean any disrespect by any means, but Danhausen, for example. Danhausen is a huge character in professional wrestling. He's over. Everybody loves Danhausen. That's fine, but when he walks into a room, he doesn't scream professional athlete. He doesn't scream professional wrestler.
He just screams.
So I'm very blessed. Right. So I'm very blessed with size, and I thought I'd use that size, and I just wanted to be a traditional old school 80s wrestler. And that's when I started out. I was in regular high spot wrestling boots, lace them up, one pair of black, one pair of white. I transitioned to a little higher cut boot, traditional wrestling boots. That my dad gives me hell for it, but they had the laces in and the zips on them, the old Rocky Johnsons. Dr. Tom Pritchard gave me that idea. And I thought those were the greatest thing in the world. Zip on, zip off. If I need to retie them, I can retie them. And then, Silas Mason and I were talking, and I don't know if you guys know Silas, if you had an opportunity to have him here. He's a great interview. He's one of my closest confidants in pro wrestling, and we were talking. He's like, dude, you're one of the most stubborn, bullheaded people I've ever met in my entire life. I don't know what we were talking about. It could have been talking about protein shakes for all I know. And that kind of brought around the country gimmick. Billy Corgan, I am country, but like Billy said, hey, we'd really like you to wear a cowboy hat. And I said, you know what, boss, whatever you want, you got it. And then I was like, if I'm going to dive in, I'm going to dive in head first. Let's go cowboy hat. Let's get a nice denim jacket. Let's make sure I stick around with the high-waisted trunks. But I went to a more I think I wore brown. I went brown and yellow against Omar Mir. I've got green and yellow. The country stick. What the Wyoming Cowboys wear brown and yellow.
Exactly.
So and then the boots came along later. I was able to find a guy out of Texas, Ace Shavira, phenomenal bootmaker. I sent him a picture. I actually have them. Here's my actual snakeskin boots. These are actual snakeskins that I bought with my Mason Dixon line boys, and we all got matching snakeskins because why not? And I just sent him a picture of those. And I said, hey, I've seen I think it was Barry Windham used to wear them. Dusty Rhodes wore them with the eagle cut on them and everything. Brian Brock currently wears a pair. Tim Storm wears a pair. Like, I saw those. It's like, hey, I know the background and the lineage of that particular boot. I don't fit into that. It was a family thing for them.
Right.
I don't fit into that family. I didn't think I fit into that family. So I was like, hey, can you make this boot into a wrestling boot? And he said, sure, I sure can. And good turnaround time. He got them to me, and I wore them for the first time in New Orleans against Jordan Clearwater for the TV title. And I'll probably never go back to regular wrestling boots ever again.
Is it just a comfortability thing too?
All that to say, yes, I love the pull-on cowboy boots, and those are custom made. What'd you say? Is it the comfortability,
or is it?
Is that a word?
It felt right, didn't it?
I think it's comfort.
It sounds right.
Comfort is the word.
Was it a comfort thing, or was it comfort look, or is it just it felt right?
It felt right for the country gentleman gimmick that we were trying to portray. Like, if I'm going to be Southern country cowboyish, just big old bruising brute, then I felt like a slip-on cowboy boot would probably be what I'd wrestle in.
It's what makes sense.
They're comfortable. I usually wear ankle braces with them, but I've kind of moved away from the ankle braces and just double up socks right now because I lost my ankle braces. But they're comfortable. Like, I wear them. I wore them during pre-tapes. I don't tell nobody that. I didn't put on my real snakeskins. I put those on because they were way more comfortable than my regular boots.
Nice.
So maybe it is a little comfort thing, but it's a style thing. It's an accessibility thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they just look good, and I like them.
Well, and
I get compliments on them all the time. Mike Knox compliments them all the time. He's like, "Those are some sweet boots." So
Yeah,
that means a lot to me.
They are sweet boots, though. Honestly, after seeing them live, there's something just about a good old pair of snakeskins. But not only that, but to see them being worked in a wrestling ring, it works. It really does work.
Well, I was wearing I wore my Cody James boots to that show, and I told him I saw when you come in the ring with the snakeskins. I was like, God, I got to get a pair of those.
Well, I've never seen anybody wear those style of cowboy boots in the ring. Mm-hmm. Like and that could just be my ignorance, honestly. But I've never seen the snakeskin look with the way those are made. I've always seen the Dusty Rhodes Eagle look. Anthony just wears, my partner with the NWA just wears regular boots that were resold, and that's unique too. So I've never seen. Maybe that's just again an ignorance thing on my part. Never paying much attention to other boots, but. Yeah, I just thought, I was like, these are unique. If I can get him to make these, I've not ever seen them. I know they'll stand out.
Absolutely. Now, I believe you mentioned earlier. So, from my understanding, the mullet was kind of a challenge. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Delve into that for us.
Yeah, Blanco Loco. When I broke into the business, I had a nice bleach blonde undercut, growing it out on top, the ponytail, the man bun gimmick. My dad used to bleach his hair back in the day, and at his retirement match, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it because I'll shave it off if I don't like it. I bleached my hair for his retirement match, and then I never went back. And it was bleached for 3 years, and then finally something happened, and I was I think it was the WWE was coming to town, and one of the producers told me, he's like, hey, like, if we get you in, you have to have basic bitch hair. Was literally the exact words. So he's like, you can't stand out more than you already do. Like I'm 6'2", 295 pounds. Like I stand out because I'm big. He's like, and then that bleach hair it's going to put you over the top. And if we bring you in, they're not going to be able to do anything with you on TV because you'll take away from whatever talent they've got. But so Blanco Loco challenged me. He may not know that he challenged me, but he said, man, it's a shame you'll never have as great, luscious locks as your father. And it was like, challenge accepted, and that was the day I started growing my mullet, and I haven't looked back. Can
you give us a little fluff?
You may be able to get it's flat today. Normally, after I wake up in the morning and go to the gym, I'll come home, rinse it out real good, and it'll just like get those nice tight curls that naturally set into. This is slip-on mullet look, so it's a little dead today. But
any chance of it going back to blonde, or you staying right here with the brunette?
It's going to stay natural color. The next thing that happens is I probably shave my head. That'll probably be the next thing. Go shaved head, beard.
Oh, just going away with all the hair.
Possibly, yeah. I've contemplated it. My dad's hairline's very dominant genetically, and so I know I'm starting to develop his hairline. My little brother's starting to develop his hairline at 21 years old. So. Eventually, if it just keeps receding, I'm just going to shave it. Or rock a skullet. I've always thought about rocking a skullet, just shaving the top part.
The whole
and then just having
the Hulk Hogan. The bandana covers everything. And there was even a guy back in the day on the indie scene. He called himself the Macho Warrior Rick Hogan. I don't know if you've ever seen him or not.
I know Rick, yeah.
So some of his stuff out there is wild and zany, but he has the Hulk Hogan hair with the bandana. So
you know what? I think not only should we call it the Hulk Hogan hair, but the George South hair.
Yeah,
George South is my inspiration.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Hulk Hogan, he's had his time. The new living legend, the George South hair. That's what we're going to call it from now on.
Oh yeah, the George South hair. That's what I would go with, and then I would offer to tag with him as a Skullet Brothers or something. I would let him name it and do all the creative. I'll just take all the bumps.
There you go.
We'll put that bug in his ear because it seems like every show we go to, George is there. We finally got a picture with him when we were at NAWA APW a couple weeks ago. We've seen him at NAWA, APW. Just every independent show we go to, George is there. So
he is an unsung hero, and I think people now are starting to realize just how great of a man and a wrestler and all around person that he is.
Agreed.
In professional wrestling, outside of professional wrestling, I've obviously had more opportunities to be around him, and every time I've told him this, every time I'm around him, every time he's in a locker room, I feel like I always leave a better person just from his presence. Like just the energy and as the young kids say, the vibe that he exuberates. I don't know if that's the right word, but it felt right there. See, we can do this all night.
It felt right.
Those $7 words, the vibes that he gives off, just like if you just sit and just absorb what he's putting out, you can leave a better person. And every time I'm in a locker room with him, every time I shake his hand, every time I see him, I give him a hug and I say hello. Hey, Mr. South. Dad says hello. I always thank him for what he's done for the business every single time. And I know he gets tired of hearing it, but I'll never, ever, ever not tell him because he deserves to know.
And that's what's crazy. We've had a couple of people on here, and every time somehow we get on the topic of George South, and not once have we ever heard like any type of like ill word towards him or anything. It's always been like, he is the most amazing man in the wrestling ring, but even a more amazing man outside of the wrestling ring. We've just from traveling, with a couple of the promotions, gotten the chance, like Knight said, to kind of talk to him a little bit. And it just blows my mind how long he's been, the longevity that he's been in this business. But even to this day, we got to see him wrestle last Saturday. Mm-hmm. The dude looks like he's wrestling at freaking 40 years old. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of my favorite stories of like being around him are like, he does the WrestleCade stuff. Mm-hmm. He was at WrestleCade, not this past, I know he was this past year. I don't remember. He was in a match with Ricky and Kerry Morton.
And Gage.
Yeah. Yeah, but the year before he was wrestling Heath Slater.
Yep.
And I'd gotten an opportunity to sit in the back while that was going on. And I think George literally walked up, said, "Hey, Mr. Slater, it's good to see you. Hey, Heath, it's good to see you again. See you out there, kid." And to watch Heath, to watch somebody at that level freak out and be nervous, not necessarily freak out, but be nervous about wrestling George South was like it. That speaks for itself. Anybody that ever has to wrestle George, I've heard this multiple times from guys that have been in the WWE, have been at the top of the ladder, have been to where I'm trying to go, and every time they wrestle George South, it's like, man, I just want to see if I still got it. I've heard that quote multiple times. Or man, this is the most nervous I've ever been for a wrestling match in the last 5-6 years since I left the Fed, whatever. And I think that speaks monumentally of George South and the respect that he has in this business. And I'm sure people out there hate him. I'm sure there's some that genuinely, man, that George South, I just can't stand him, heat in the locker room. But at this point in his career, it doesn't matter to him because he's done his thing and he's continuing to do his thing. But he's also got an army of people that would absolutely murder for him, take bullets for him. And I would like to include myself in that. If anybody ever hurts George South, I'll break their necks. So,
yeah. And so, talking about families of wrestling, George South is one of those people that you hear the name and you're like, oh, okay, George South up and down the East Coast, he is that guy. But when you talk about Tennessee wrestling, I mean, and we all know what the name is synonymous with Tennessee wrestling. Tell us
the Fullers. The Fullers. And the Cazanas over there.
Fuller Brother Construction, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But
sure, yeah.
Tell us how your family just kind of they really did. So I've done a lot of research on you because I want to know more backstory of you. I know,
I appreciate that.
I know AJ as the wrestler because I've gone and researched and seen you live and this, that, and the other. But I went back and did a little bit of the research. How was it that there was all these territories and everything, but then all of a sudden your last name is what started to take over that Tennessee territory?
I wish I could tell you exactly how it all happened. That would be a question for my dad. My dad was the one that he's got the history all locked up here.
Right.
I'm fortunate enough to know a little bit of it. My grandfather started. He got seen at a gym, which is apparently the way a lot of it used to start. He got seen at the gym by a former world champion. He said, "Hey kid, you got a good look. Do you want to try wrestling?" And I think in 1933 he started training. In the 50s, I want to say it was 53, 56, somewhere around there, he started promoting with, I don't know the back office mumbo jumbo that really happened, but I know he was promoting, he was running TV at a WBIR here in Knoxville. And he was running Chilhowie Park every Wednesday. They would have 3,000 to 5,000 people on any given Wednesday night at Chilhowie Park. There's a story that maybe Les Thatcher tells it. I can't remember who was telling. I think it was in the documentary that William Winnett did for WBR. There's a documentary out there about our family that William Winnett done at WBR based off a 40-second clip that he found of wrestling from the studio. And somebody's telling a story that I think it was, it could have been Ron Wright was up on one of the lockers looking out, and it's just a torrential downpour. My great grandfather was trying to postpone the show, cancel the show, and whoever was up on the locker looks out and says, John, you may want to reconsider that and just take a look outside. And like, it's piss pouring rain and there's lines, and they still drew 2,000 or 3,000 people that night in a torrential downpour. I think that it was crazy. Whitey Caldwell, Les Thatcher versus Ron and Don Wright. Maybe, don't quote me on that. But that about have been what was the projected main event. And they moved it to like match 3 so people could see it before the ring got too flooded. But no, he ran Knoxville under the NWA umbrella for 20 years almost, and eventually sold to the Fullers, Ron Fuller, the Fuller Welch family, and then they continued to promote it until Smoky Mountain Wrestling came in with Cornette, and so the Cazanas have been around Knoxville, Tennessee, since before 33, but especially in professional wrestling from 1933 until now. Like, this is our 90th year of professional wrestling as a family. And I think we've progressively gotten our name out there more, which, building the legacy of the Cazana family. Like, my dad wrestled for WCW and NWA and a couple matches stints with WWF at the time. And now I am currently with the NWA trying to achieve that mountaintop of professional wrestling with whatever company it is. To take our name from a regionally known name, and I want to take the Cazana name and go worldwide.
Well, I do have a question from that. From my understanding, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but your whole mindset when you were growing up, like, yeah, it was cool to be around all this, but you actually didn't want to initially become a wrestler. You wanted to be a football star at the University of Tennessee, correct? Mm-hmm. So what changed from, was it just because you were around it so much? It was almost like I don't know that I want to do this. Like, I have too much weight on my shoulders. Or was it like, I'm a badass football player, I really can do this, and then you ended up getting hurt?
I think a little bit of both. My dad never wanted me to wrestle, and I think that's the story for a lot of kids. There's never any pressure put on generational kids to get in the business. Right. I think Kerry Morton would tell you the same thing. Kerry probably just fell in love with it, but he fell in love with it a lot earlier than I did. I remember growing up watching it, and going to shows and being at shows all the way up to probably that middle school, that age where it's not cool to like pro wrestling. Right. Right. So, and once we got through that, about high school, when I transferred up here to Knoxville, I met a guy by the name of James Logan, who is currently one of my best friends in the world. But he had just started coaching the middle school football team at the high school that I played at, so we were all on one campus. And he had known a little bit about Knoxville professional wrestling at the time, and had put 2 and 2 together, and we ended up being decent friends. And then I went back and coached with him, and then he kind of reignited my love for professional wrestling. And my dad started running shows more often, so I started getting put back into being around it while I was in high school and in college. I did go to University of Tennessee, and I had aspirations, obviously, of playing at the highest level there. It suffered an injury that just it was one of those things like, hey, maybe it's time to hang up the cleats and move on with my life. And that was a very mortalizing moment, might be the right word for that.
And for those who don't know, what was that injury?
It was just a brain injury. I got cracked in the back of the skull. I was like, I can probably control this a little more outside of football. Mm-hmm. So, it's a dumb injury on my part. I wasn't enjoying myself at the time. I'd let my grades slip, and I'd always told myself it was just a concussion. I mean, we all get concussions in everyday life. But this one allowed me to kind of sit down with my family and discuss, where my love of football was, where the I guess the level of effort I was putting into the classroom was in relation to football, because I never had trouble in school. I was very fortunate to be, not crazy intelligent. I wasn't making straight A's, but I was intelligent enough to, make mostly A's.
You made it to the University of Tennessee. You were doing something right.
I graduated from a private school with a 3.9 GPA, like the magna cum laude or whatever it is. I'm a smart guy, but it was never a challenge in school until I got to UT and I realized, holy crap, I've got a job that's football. I've got a job that I have to do good in school, and I didn't have the study habits or the ability or really the motivation and discipline to do what I needed to do in school. So after the concussion that I had to put me out for a month, I kind of reevaluated where I was. It was like, let's see how this football season goes. Let's see where I'm at the end of the year. But I definitely knew like I needed to get better study habits and better discipline and stuff before I try another run of football. And then by that Christmas, I was like, you know what? Football's great. I've had fun doing it. I've played it for almost 20 years. I think I can walk away and
be happy with
not feel terribly sad about it. So I did. And then, I got to run through the power tee in front of 97,000 people in Knoxville, Tennessee on a beautiful Saturday morning. And the closest thing I ever got to that, those feelings, those chill bumps, I get chill bumps. I've got chill bumps thinking about it now. The closest I got to it was at my dad's retirement show, the same night I bleached my hair. And he had a spot. Me and my brother went in and did something against the guy that he was wrestling later in the night. And I think that's where the spark was ignited into a full-on flame, because it was the highest I felt since I quit playing football. And I was like, wait, I could do this and get this same kind of rush of feelings and emotions, and like it still exists out there. It's not the exact same, but it is like going out and having a match, going out and having a good match, going out and performing and getting the reactions from people. And then like there's some times where you're like, okay, well, we got this.
Yeah.
Like matches are building right. And then you get the explosion at the end, and then you get comments from guys that are like, man, you're really good. Like you need to work on these things, but you've got a great foundation. Like it helps. It's really a filler for football, but honestly, my love for professional wrestling has surpassed my love for football at this point.
That's that. Well, and I hate to use the word green, but technically, when you came in,
greener and goose shit, man. Huh? Still am.
Exactly.
Greener and goose shit. Still am. But excuse my verbiage.
No. We're TVMA. You're good. All of our things have that nice E, because I like to say the F word a lot. But I hate to use that word green, just because yes, you are green in the ring, but technically of anybody who's green, you've been around wrestling your whole life. And what I can say just from seeing, being able to see you in the ring is you're great technically wise. You definitely give that 80s wrestler vibe. But what I fell in love with was the fact that you took those times where it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're slowing the match down right now. The thought process behind a match, and you're looking out at the old lady who's like, oh, fuck you, asshole. And you're like, hey, you know what? You paid to see me. And that's what made me fall in love with you. So, I mean, I think that, you have definitely had, you had that love for football, but I think that deep down, after just seeing how many years of you got to see pro wrestling, I think it just took that second of like coming out and getting that same reaction at your dad's, retirement match to be like, ding, okay, this might be where I'm supposed to be. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely being around it enough. And so I don't even know what is it. It's February now. I'm working on year 3 of professional wrestling, like being graduated from JPWA and taking matches and doing them professionally, not backyard trash bag wrestling with my cousin. But like I'm working on year 3, and when I tell people that, like their minds are blown. But I have been around it my entire life, and I do have great resources, and I just think I do think there's a natural ability that you have to be a professional wrestler. Not everybody gets it. Like I get a lot of heat from people a lot of times because I do, and a lot of people do agree with me, but it's not popular to say in 2023. But wrestling, the business itself, isn't for everybody, and it's for everybody to enjoy. but being in professional wrestling is not for everybody.
I love that.
And it sucks that it has to be that way, but somebody's got to tell the truth. You know, Dr. Tom always tells me, and I got a dad who was in it for, he's going on 30 or 40 years at this point. So he's 56. He started at 18. He's working on 40 years. I've got Dr. Tom Pritchard, who trained me, who's in my back pocket. If I need to call him, I know he'll answer. Or if I shoot him a text, I know he'll answer if he's not asleep. You know, that training definitely helped. But he says there's, you know, good players want to be told they're great, and great players want to be told the truth. Mm-hmm. And I think that holds. I hold that dearly in my heart, because like not a lot of people want to tell you the truth. A lot of people want to butter you up, and they'll see you projecting upward. And I've had this talk with some of my friends who have recently gotten really good looks and really good opportunities, and you know, it feels that way sometimes that people just will butter you up just to get on your good side. Or if they think that you're coming after their spot, and it's usually more prevalent. I've never had this problem in NWA. Those guys it's the best locker room I've ever been in. And they all want to help you, and they all want the product to be the best product it is. But I've definitely been in independent locker rooms where it's like, oh man, yeah, that was a great match. But you know, deep down, like, no, it wasn't. I know it wasn't a good match. I lived it.
Right.
Like
don't bullshit me.
Don't bullshit a bullshitter.
Right.
I think it's no, man, I'm very fortunate, very blessed. I played sports for 18, 19 years. I've got a dad that was in the business for a long time. It's just a perfect concoction of ability, coachability, and dedication, and just the mindset to just do whatever it takes to be successful at this. And then you've also, and this is a nice clip art for you people out there watching on TV land, that you can use for little quotes and stuff. You always have to surround yourself with people who have the same mindset and the same goals and the same work ethic as you do. You could be, deep down, you could be the hardest worker in the room. You can be the rock of everything. But if you're surrounding yourself with people that don't understand your goals, if you surround yourself with people that don't understand your passions and what it takes for you to be successful, even after telling them like, hey man, I have to stick to this diet. Hey man, I can't go out partying with you every weekend, because if I do, I'm going to lose opportunities, and I'm going to becoming an alcoholic, a drunk, whatever. And it's just like, you can't party and drink like an asshole and expect to look like a professional. And it's just people that, and like, dude, I love beer. I love drinking. Like I love eating food. Food is my Achilles heel. Like I will go in here and crush a large pizza and not even think twice about it. But like, you have to surround yourself with people who have the same ideals, the same goals, the same work ethic, all that good stuff. I'm just circling around to say the same thing, but and that's a big thing. I've surrounded myself with guys like Silas Mason and Devin Dixon. I've got people that I can call, like Tom Latimer and Dr. Tom and Chris Silvio, all these guys that have been trainers, that have been around. Brad Attitude. I don't know if you guys know Brad over in North Carolina. Brad Attitude gave me one of the biggest compliments I've ever had in my entire life. And it was a very humbling experience. Normally it would blow my head extremely out of the water, but he told me something in the locker room after our match at AML. And like, it was a very, like, it brought me back down to earth after thinking like, you know, where I was that whole week. And then he said that, and I was like, maybe I'm on the right path. I've got people in my corner that want to see me succeed. And I've done well surrounding myself with people that'll hold me accountable.
Absolutely.
And as an athlete, guys, I'll talk all night.
No, keep going. We love it. This is the good shit right here.
As a former athlete playing sports for so long, like, I need coaching. I need somebody, you know, maybe not yelling and screaming down my back or jumping me every time I do something small that's wrong. Like, I've got Silas Mason, who's not scared to grab me by the back of the head and say, hey, stupid, we've got 50 burpees to do because Tyrus said so.
Yeah.
And then pushing me to make sure that we get those done. Like, I'll do them. I'll do 20 or 30 by myself. But like, he's like, no, we have to get this many because Homicide said you owe it. Or we have to do this because we want to be champions. Like, so it's Silas has been my greatest foundation right now, as far as like being able to call him and say, hey man, let's go get a lift in. I need some extra motivation today.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, all that to say, all that cool stuff that I said, that resounding, life-changing advice for people.
I hope that you've given somebody out there their aha moment. Hopefully,
that could be. You could take that and apply that to anything.
Yeah.
In your work lives, you just want to do a good job, or you want to do a great job. Like, and this is here's the rant that's going to get us all canceled in 2023. There's a lot of people in this world out there that are okay with being mediocre. There's a lot of people that are okay with being with pushing traditional masculine traits out of the world. And that's cool, man, if that's your thing, but like, it's not me. I coached football for 8 years. I if I ever have kids, I've got kids in my life that I care genuinely about. And I hope that one day, like, I can teach them, hey, here's how to be a man. Here's what we need out of the world. And like, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to say it.
I love it. I love it.
Don't be afraid.
We both have sons, so we completely understand and appreciate that you said that.
Yeah.
Be the best damn you can be. If you got to be this is what, like, not everybody's cut out to be the president of the United States. Not everybody's cut out to be a professional athlete. Not everybody's cut out to be a podcast host of a successful podcast. Not everybody's supposed to be professional wrestlers, whatever. Like, if your calling in life is to go be a ditch digger, be the best damn ditch digger you can be, because you can make a lot of money doing that crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you got people have been told so much that they deserve so much, and they don't deserve anything. You don't deserve anything in this life at all. If it's not, you deserve.
I love this.
Health.
This is great.
You deserve opportunities. I think that's what people construct. Oh, I deserve to get paid $20 an hour for my minimal labor job. No, I don't. Like, what I do, I get paid way too much for. I'll be the first one to tell you. I get paid way too much to be a pro wrestler. Don't tell my boss, because I enjoy the money.
Well,
but
I'm glad you said that. I do want to switch gears here a little bit and talk about.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting off my. I'll get off my soapbox.
You're good, man. Jump back on it later. But I want to talk about Billy Corgan a little bit. I've watched a lot of NWA since I found that it was on YouTube, had the episodes that I could go back and look at. I've seen kind of a transformation with the company. It's had a little bit of a roller coaster with talent, with storylines and different things. How do you feel about Billy Corgan and the wrestling business? Does he get it? Does he run the show by himself, or does he take into account?
Are you trying to get me fired?
I want your honest opinion.
You're trying to get some clickbait here.
No,
that's what you're trying to
do. If you tell me to cut it, I'll cut it. That's fine.
No. So we'll address this one question at a time. How do I feel? I feel I'll forever be indebted to the National Wrestling Alliance and one William Patrick Corgan. I'll forever be indebted to guys like Dr. Tom Pritchard. Again, you'll hear me talk about him all the time, because without Dr. Tom, there's no AJ Cazana. And right now, I could say the same thing about Pat Kenny, formerly known as Simon Diamond. Pat Kenny, Billy Corgan, all those guys in the office over there, the producers, Jeremiah Plunkett. I don't know if you guys know Plunky. He's out of Middle Tennessee, journeyman of professional wrestling, one of the greatest professional wrestlers I've ever been around, that for whatever reason just never got the opportunity that he deserved. He put me in the right position to get with the NWA. Mark Rowland, again, another guy in the back office that nobody's ever going to know about, that's over like extra talent, who put me in the right position to succeed with Magic Jake Dumas in Oak Grove, Kentucky. And then I go back in the back and I meet Billy Corgan and Pat Kenny for the first time personally. I'd shaken their hands, but like, I met them for the first time personally there, and they, hey kid, we like your look. We want you to be at TV tapings. Let's work. Let's see what we can work on. Let's get something going. So I'll forever be indebted to Billy Corgan. He does have help around him, and I think that's the great thing about him. I think that's a good sign of leadership and ability, is to know that, hey, I don't know everything. I've got ideas, but if I don't have anybody to bounce these ideas off of, I can't improve them. So I've got ideas for gimmicks that I'll bounce off of Gustavo and Silas and Plunky and Devin and all my dudes. And a lot of times they're willing to tell me, hey man, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I definitely need to hear that. And then there's other times where, Silas will expand on something and be like, okay, that's great, but if we expand it this much, it could be this much better. So I think Mr. Corgan does that. And Pat Kenny's there with him, and he's got Dr. Tom and Medusa and Homicide. We've got a great group. We had Raven at the last round of tapings.
Oh, I'd love to pick that brain. Raven.
I've been around Johnny Swinger. I've been around Ricky Steamboat. Like all these guys that have come on in, and man, dude. So no, yeah, I'm not going to tell you, and he probably wouldn't tell you that he's the greatest mind of professional wrestling, but he's got great ideas. And then he's got a team built around him that's got even better ideas and tweaks on his ideas that can only make everything better.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And the production is always improving. The camera work's always improving. The pre-tapes are always like everything's just getting better and better since I've been there. And I know it's been a roller coaster for them. It's been up and down and stuff. And I'm very blessed and fortunate again to be where I'm at with them and to be. I am not the foundation that they're building the NWA on. But you know, like if I could be a part of laying some of the brickwork that's laid after that concrete foundation that Trevor and Tyrus and Aaron Stevens and all those guys have built, and Tom and Tim Stormjack, I could name all these guys, all these former world champions that have laid the foundation for the NWA that I want to help continue to build. So no, I love Billy Corgan. He's been great. We talked about music the last time I talked to him. We didn't even talk about wrestling. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Is that like kind of weird for you when you're like talking to someone like that and then you realize like, hey, I just had like a 30-minute conversation and didn't say not a word about wrestling?
Oh yeah, it's very weird, but you can always translate everything into wrestling. So like I definitely got a lot out of that conversation. It's talking about like rock bands and stuff and like the transition from like your Kisses and your Stones and everything that are still performing in their late 70s, early 80s, 90-year-old, rock groups. And there was a lot of good. Yeah, it was really cool to be like, hey, we haven't said anything about wrestling and we're literally about to go wrestle. That's cool.
Yeah. And so you speak a lot about Dr. Tom Pritchard. That is who you were trained by, correct? So
yes,
what was the process of that? Was it just kind of like, you had the whole situation with football happen and you realized, you sat down with your family, had that, come to Jesus meeting. And then like the next thing was like, hey, I want to give this wrestling thing a try, Dad. Can you hook me up with Dr. Tom Pritchard? Or did you go out and do all this all on your own? Or how did that process work?
So my dad initially started training me, and I guess I just figured out I was 25, 26 at the time when he started. And he taught me just a few things, but again, I'm very stubborn, very bullheaded. That's a name, but I've got a skull that's hard to get through sometimes. And especially when it's your father trying 100%. To coach you. So he got to a point where he was just done with it. He's like, look, if you're not going to listen or if you're not going to treat me, if you're not going to do what I asked you to do, then I'm not going to coach you. And, like Dad, I love you. And, it's just maybe I need to go somewhere else. And then Doc opened up a school. And I remember just saying that my family, my mom's got 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and I've got 50-something cousins and all that good stuff. So there's a huge family, a huge network of people. And my Aunt Edna Smith Sewell, like she actually offered to pay, and this is the most humbling thing in the world, that she believed this much in me. She offered to pay for my wrestling school. She offered to pay for me to go train. And people I'll forever be indebted to. She'll get that money back one day, but she'll never ask for it. And I know she won't. But eventually I'm going to sign a contract that gives me life-changing money. And she's the first person that's going to be front row when I'm headlining WrestleMania. Or if I'm headlining 75 or NWA shows down, whatever, I'll definitely make sure that there's always a seat with her name on it next to Mom and Dad. And of course, like I said, I wholeheartedly intend on paying her back for that wrestling school. Even though, again, she will never ask or probably ever accept a cent, but I'll find a way to get to her. So she actually paid for it, and Dad was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it right. We're going to get you with Doc. So I think Dad initially reached out, but I went through the application process and did everything I was supposed to do to get in. And then fortunately, the rest is history at that point.
Well, and that's something I want to touch about, or touch base on. I didn't mean when I asked that question to be like, "Hey, did you get Daddy to go do this?" Because I do feel like just reading a bunch about you that you've done this the right way. Yes, you have. You are third. Somewhat even, argue 4th generational star. And from what I've read, you have gone above and beyond to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not in this because Daddy helped me out. So I do want to make that very, very clear.
Oh yeah, there was no disrespect felt at all. I know exactly what you were asking because I've been asked it 100 times. No,
Have you had that, like, while you're in the industry, be like kind of like that guy that's got a bad taste in his mouth, who's been doing this for 40 years, never got his break
not
type
to my
thing?
face.
Not to your face.
Not to my face. No, not to my face. I mean, maybe, but I most of the time I just want to show up and wrestle wherever I go, and there's a lot of drama in independent wrestling that I don't have time for. I want to be a professional. I want to be the best professional I can be, and I'm not going to surround myself or worry myself with the
naysayers,
with the drama. Yeah, and again, I'm sure there's people out there that, oh, you're only where you're at because your daddy got you there. It's like, Dad got my foot in the door, sure. But he didn't even get my foot in the door at NWA. And that's I think the big one is people don't realize the path that I went through to get to the NWA. I went, again, first thing I did, I saw NWA was in town. I saw Jeremiah Plunkett was on it. I had never met him in my entire life. And now he's one of my best friends in the world. He's one of my closest friends. And I randomly messaged him on Facebook, hey, I'm new at this. I would like an opportunity to just come in, help set up the ring, run security, whatever you need. And he gave me the right contact and Mark to go to. So I messaged Mark. And I mean, this was an ongoing. It's like, hey, I'd really like to come out and help out. I just want to be around. I want to see what it's about. I want to know, I just want to just pay my dues. And Mark, sure enough, got in, did a couple shows with them. He looked at me. The first thing he said when I walked in was like, man, they're going to like your size. We can't do much with you. Like they had a spot or something. He's like, they're going to like your size. So we'll just have you work security over here. It's like, okay, cool. I can do whatever you need me to do. And then we loaded up the ring, tore down the set, went to Atlanta with them for a 3-day trip. And they treated me like family, and guys like Colby Carino, Odinson, Mecha Wolf, like I got to meet those guys down there. But Colby Carino is one of the reasons that I started meeting people, because believe it or not, I'm very secluded to myself. If I don't know people, I'm the strong silent type. So I mean, Colby got me anyway. Yeah, and the Atlanta thing, we went back to Oak Grove, Kentucky, and then I got my opportunity. And I still show up, when the ring crew shows up. I still try to get there with them. I try to help out. And I'm always available to make runs and do whatever, because you never stop paying your dues in this business. And George South taught me that. Well, and
that was what was cool. When I went back and I did some research on you, I wish I could freaking remember where this was. But I actually think it was Colby Carino who made a statement about you, that you never used your last name to do anything. Mm-hmm. In fact, you were always the first to show up to set the ring up and the last one to put the last piece of the ring in the thing. So that is something that me personally, I can very much so respect, and just like, that's really freaking cool to me.
Yeah, I use my last name if I can, but I don't want to. I want to pave my own path. And that's kind of the whole. So I've started moving away from the legacy. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I went and, the brute from Bullhead Ranch, Ironhead Cazana, the gimmick. It's just moving out of the shadow,
slowly,
of the legacy, to I call it my legend killer phase. Randy Orton moved out of legacy, the group, and moved into the Viper, and then the legend killer and all that good stuff.
So what I'm trying to do? Not the legend killer.
The brute from Bullhead Ranch.
The brute.
You guys didn't hear that? I cut a promo. We just posted it. I don't know what I'm looking for. I think I'm getting a branding iron made, so I think I was looking for that, even though I don't have it. I don't know. I'm just I'm stupid right now. But no, I annexed part of Miller Family Farms and branded it Bullhead Ranch, and now I'm the brute from Bullhead.
So are we going to see some branding iron stipulation matches in your future?
I mean, if people want them, I'll do them. But the goal is to get a branding iron and hope that none of these other independent kids or guys decide to do it before I do it, because I've only seen one branding iron in the world.
Well, you got
in
about
professional wrestling.
You got about 2.5 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Double Cross Ranch was the only branding iron I've ever seen carried to a wrestling ring.
All right, so look, when you get that, can I get the first dibs right here?
I mean, if you want to get branded, I'll do it. I don't know why anybody would ever want to get branded, but I'll do it for you.
I'm way too big of a pussy to do that. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you.
I mean, it can't be any worse than those tattoos you got.
Oh, I do that all day over a burn.
That's what I was going to suggest. Just get the graphic for the tattoo.
The healing design. Well, actually, it's the graphic for the branding iron was on my new trunks that were just posted by Global Wrestling Wear, I think is what Rick's thing is. And I just wore them on USA Saturday. So it's got the nice BHR on the hip with the bull horns and everything.
We'll have to check that out for sure. We'll post it. I do have
a couple of profound questions to ask, so to speak, to wrap us up.
Let's do it.
It's basically the same ones that I ask every person, but it's always such a different answer, which is why I like it. If I were to say this is exactly what's going to happen, what is AJ's 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan?
Ooh, 1 year plan would be hell. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't want to be at the WWE by the end of 1 year. But more realistically, I think it'll be world title with the NWA. Maybe not the world's heavyweight title, but definitely the TV title, maybe the national title, or me and Anthony keep trending upwards. The world tag team titles would be real nice around the waist. We've got these U.S. tag titles now,
which are beautiful.
Bring that on in for a quick look skis here. Of course, the gimmick is doing whatever. That would be my 1 year plan. Would be continue to push it with the NWA and headline some main shows. You said 5 year plan?
Yes, sir.
5 year plan is definitely life-changing money. If I don't have the way I see it is if I don't have that life-changing contract within 5 years, I've probably reached the pinnacle of where I'm at in professional wrestling. I think I got started a little late. I'll try to, coach my brother's 21. He's just getting out of training here in about 5 weeks. I'm going to try to push him. Yeah. If he'll have 9 extra years to do this in my mind. So I'll be 30 this year, boys. So, I'm getting on up there in age. And, I think 5 years is a feasible amount of time to be like, hey, I want at least that one life-changing contract, whether that's the NWA, AEW, Impact, New Japan, WWE is the goal, right? We all want to go pay off our mama's debts.
Yep.
And that's my 5 year plan. 10 year plan is just to get out of it alive.
I like that. I think that's the first time we've heard that one, and I like that.
I want to leave. I want to leave the world. I want to leave the wrestling world better than I found it. I think that and get out alive. Get out alive in one piece with minimal damage to my body, which is nuts because this is I've done football and wrestling, and your body's not made for either one of those two sports at all. So I'm throwing my body. I know where my body's going to be, and I know where my head's getting to. You know what I mean? So it's inevitable, and you come to grips with your own mortality, and you come to grips with where you're going to be in the future. And right now, dude, I'm just 10 years. I'm going to live my hardest and my best life for the next 10 years. And if I'm still able to wrestle, you bet your sweet ass I'll be wrestling.
Absolutely.
If it's a case of, hey, you can't do in-ring stuff anymore, then I hope I left the business better than I found it. I hope I inspired a lot of people to go out and achieve greatness in whatever aspects of life that they want to achieve greatness in. And I would love to be a trainer at some point. I love coaching. Coaching is one of my loves that I had to step away from for wrestling. So that was a hard decision too. Love coaching football. We won 3 championships and competed for 4 championships in 8 years, 7 years.
That's
won
impressive.
3 of those championships. And it's because you do a lot. You do a lot with coaching. You can change lives with coaching.
100%.
It's more, and I would take the same thought process into training guys for pro wrestling in 10 years as I did coaching middle school and high school football players and wrestlers. It's bigger than the sport. The sport doesn't define you as a person. And because I had to tell, that's a thing that people, identity crisis that a lot of athletes go through, which is, I don't think regular people understand it. So, making sure so training in 10 years. Yeah. If I could do that, great.
Last question.
So I want to be in pro wrestling. I don't care how it is. If I'm in the ring, I'm great. If I'm behind the scenes producing or agenting, great. If I'm owning WWE, even better. But I want to be in pro wrestling.
If you're owning it, don't forget us little guys. All right.
Oh, I would never. 'Cause I'm a little guy.
So listen. Last question, then we'll wrap it up. You have the same exact monetary number on every one of these contracts, but you have AEW, WWE, ROH, Impact in front of you. Is there one that you're signing first?
Oh, it's WWE, dude.
All day.
No questions asked.
It's the pinnacle.
It's hard to match. It's hard to match the worldwide brand that they've got. It's hard to match the level of respectability, maybe the right word, the level of reputation that they have.
Reputation's the good word, I think, yeah.
In professional wrestling, you get into it. Sorry, my phone's about to die. You get into it with the aspirations of being the headlining act at WrestleMania, the world champion. Initially, that wasn't my goal. Initially, my goal was to take the wrestling as far as I could and then get to where I can, and I'm happy with it. But when I talk to people and they tell me stuff and they seeing the people that want to help me, that changed my goal. Now I want that WWE contract. You have to want it. But if I can, I'm not going to lie to you. And I tell people this, as soon as my time with one of those bigger companies is done, and I've got that gravitas and the name recognition and that big WWE next to my name, I'm going back to the NWA and I'm going to help propel it as far as we can take it from wherever it's at. Because again, above all else, I'm loyal and respectful, and I'm very gracious for what they've done for me so far. They gave me an opportunity and a platform to do what I do best, and that's wrestle.
Before your phone dies and we log off, is there any kind of plugs, any kind of upcoming shows, anybody you want to throw some shade at, anything like that?
Well, let's see here. I know we just had a match with the Spectaculars and whipped the crap out of them. I know we're going to be on USA here, probably closer to the Chicago date. NWA will be in Chicago, April 7th and 8th. I think the name of that is 312. Don't quote me on that one either. Chris Silvio and the Bulletproof Troop and Jack Stain have been running their mouths an awful lot. And they've definitely challenged us, and I've had words with Silvio in the locker room about it. And, I see Blake and Jack's eyeballing our titles, and that might be a thing to look out for.
Time to lace those boots up and nut up and shut up, right?
Lace them up real tight and get ready to get your head knocked off.
All right.
Social plugs real quick.
Absolutely.
AJCaz1 on Instagram, AJCazana on TikTok and Twitter. Yeah, I said Twitter.
I love it.
Facebook is just AJCazana. I think it's the Rookie of the Century if you backslash the gimmick or whatever. I've got a Patreon, but whatever, I don't use it. Nobody subscribes. I don't put anything on it because I don't know how to work it. I'm in that weird age that I want to work it, but I don't know how to. Just be on the lookout for Joe Cazana Promotions and Imperial and AML and all these other great places, SBCW up here in Tennessee. And we got a lot of good stuff coming. The NWA US Tag Team Champions will be defending their belts all over the country more and more as the year goes on. So,
well, I just got to say, absolutely, thank you for taking time out of your night to talk with us, Mr. Knight.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to echo that again. Thank you for coming on, being a guest. We hope to have you on again in the future, hopefully with bigger and better things, maybe in person if we can meet up somewhere. But other than that, we want to thank all of our listeners and viewers as well. And as AJ said, just remember, pro wrestling is for everybody.
Upside Beats. Yo, SwantonPod, busting off like a swanton bomb. Roadhouse in the dad bod night. On the train and about to take flight. Got the news on HML. And the future stars of that wrestling. We'll tune into that greatness so you can learn a couple lessons. I'm about to tank, just like a shark. This is the podcast. For smart marks, no, they ain't brick, but they got heart. All of these stars, where do I start? Come with aggression. SwantonPod for your wrestling. Y'all them mad monsters. Shout outs to all of our sponsors.